Senator Joe Manchin has been towing the line of the Republican Party by pushing back against any of Joe Biden's proposals, whether we're talking about the coronavirus relief bill, the infrastructure bill, the American Families Plan. Joe Manchin has said, I will be the obstacle. I will be the cop that stops it. And it's interesting because he does so by claiming that what he cares about is unity, bipartisanship. He wants to work with his Republican colleagues. And I have to be honest, it felt really good to see Chris Cuomo challenge him on that. Let's watch.
In all due respect to your party, I don't think you guys play power politics as well as the other side. And I think that if you were to get rid of the filibuster, McConnell would use it against you guys when he gets back in power, and it's only a matter of time, in a way that you never even thought of using it. So I hear you on that.
Well, he could have used it already.
But I'm just saying, Senator, right now you have infrastructure, you have needs for families, you have a lot of gross deficits that you're dealing with. There's a chance that you get none of it passed. Forget about, background checks or anything like that.
Let's see what we've done already, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Look what we've done, $1.9 trillion. Look what we did last year in all bipartisan way. Look what we've done this year. We didn't do it with a bipartisan way, but we did it because it needed to be done with the pandemic that we had. We did it at $1.9 trillion.
But you didn't do it bipartisan.
No, we had a process of bipartisanship to a certain extent.
But then there were no votes.
There would have been more, but there wasn't. But there was one. Well, we didn't try. We had some votes as far as in the.
But they went through the reconciliation process, Senator. As you know, you went through reconciliation because they weren't going to work with you on it.
That was awesome. That was awesome. That was such a fantastic way of handling that interview, and it gives you a sense of just how weak Senator Manchin really is once he's challenged on the very lies that he tells his own constituents, the American people, in passing these policies that are tremendously popular. They're wildly popular. 2 in 3 American voters favor the proposals coming from the Biden administration. And then you have this clown talking about how, no, we gotta work with the Republicans. We need unity, we need bipartisanship. They don't want to work with you. And finally, someone on cable news calls it out for what it really is, Cenk. It feels really good to see that.
It does. Unfortunately, the exception proves the rule, right? Because we're doing a news story about it because a journalist asking a very standard but good question to Joe Manchin is considered giant news. We're leading the show with it.
I know, it's a rarity.
Right? Like he asked him, well, you want to do bipartisanship, yet the last time you tried that, you got 0 votes. And Manchin was totally blindsided by it because he's used to almost all the press kissing his ass. Right, and being like, oh, you're so conservative and moderate Democrat, and you're representing the people of West Virginia, and tell us more about that and how you're trying to save unity and bipartisanship in the Senate, dear Senator, right? So when someone on television, especially, ask him a real question, you saw his answer there. You could rewind the tape.
He took a deep breath in the beginning of that clip. I don't know if you guys noticed, but it was after Cuomo had mentioned the fact that Republicans are better at using their power than Democrats are, and that's undeniable, absolutely undeniable.
Well, look, we're gonna get more on that in a second, and we're gonna tell you about what the leader of the Republicans says about unity and bipartisanship. But there, Manchin didn't even bother coming up with an answer before he went on air, because he's never asked the simple question, why do you keep insisting that there's bipartisanship when over the last 12 years, they have never agreed with you on anything. And on this last bill, in the era that you want the bipartisanship in, you got zero, not a little, not microscopic, 0 votes from the Republicans. He doesn't have an answer because there is no answer because he's not negotiating with Republicans, he's negotiating with his donors.
Now, before we get to the other clips of this wonderful interview, I think it's important to go to what Mitch McConnell recently had to say about his #1 priority. Former Senate Majority Leader, he is continuing the same obstruction that Biden was familiar with during the Obama administration, and here he is laying it out clearly.
Yeah, 100% of my focus is on stopping this new administration. 100% of my focus is on standing up to this administration. What we have in the United States Senate is total unity from Susan Collins to Ted Cruz in opposition to what the new Biden administration is trying to do to this country.
That was clear. There was no equivocating. There was no caveat to that statement. McConnell's #1 priority with a unified Republican caucus in the Senate is to fight back against anything being proposed by Joe Biden. With that in mind, the follow-up question to Joe Manchin is, so do you still want to work with these people? After, first of all, you got burned with the coronavirus relief bill. Not a single Republican in either the House or the Senate voted for the coronavirus relief bill. And they plan on behaving the same way with upcoming legislation as well.
Okay, how much clearer did he have to be then? We're going to oppose 100% of Biden's agenda, 100%. Manchin's like, oh no, I think we could work with them. Look, I asked this question on Twitter. I didn't bother asking you guys because I know how you guys are gonna answer, right? But I was curious what Gen Pop thought about it. Do you think Manchin is dumb or corrupt? Because if you take him at face value and he says, oh, the other guy says he's gonna work against us 100%, and then his party's completely unified. Because Manchin's always like, oh, we'll get Susan Collins. No, he just explained, no, Susan Collins to everyone is 100% against everything you propose. So if you say, and by the way, of course, Mitch McConnell has an excellent history of delivering on that promise. So it's not like it's divorced from context. The context is when McConnell said that about Obama, he delivered that about Obama. Okay, so Manchin has to be incredibly stupid to think that McConnell will, out of the goodness of his heart, become bipartisan. So that's why I asked it on Twitter, because, and I didn't ask you guys, because you guys are the smartest audience in the world. You're not gonna say he's dumb. He's not doing it because he's dumb, he's doing it because he's corrupt. Yep. It's super obvious.
Now, when it comes to issues that might be unpopular with independent and possibly conservative voters in West Virginia, I can understand how Manchin would want to differentiate himself from the Democratic Party. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're having a conversation about popular proposals, whether we're discussing the coronavirus relief bill, the infrastructure package, or the American Families Plan. These are pieces of legislation that have polled wonderfully, even among right-wing voters in states like West Virginia. So I'm not buying any argument coming from Senator Joe Manchin on why we need to cave to the demands of the party that is not in charge right now. With that said, let's look at the next piece of this exchange between Cuomo and Manchin.
Joe Biden has got more done in 100 days.
But not with them.
Any president in my time that I can recall.
Not with them.
Basically, he got more done. He's put a plan out there, and he got more done.
But not with them.
We got it done, okay? And
but
we're
not
moving
with
in the right
them.
direction.
Not with them.
But you've heard Joe Biden. He wants it to work. It will work.
But they don't want it to work. He just told you, I'm stopping the administration. He just said it to you,
You don't know. You don't.
He just said it.
That was one person.
He's the head.
That's one person.
He's the leader.
He's not controlling all of that, I can assure you.
Man, that was a pathetic display for Manchin. Absolutely pathetic. And he's just one person. I mean, he's the leader among the Republicans in the Senate, but I'm just gonna keep spouting the same talking points as if what Cuomo is challenging me with isn't being said at all. Just completely pretend as if he's not saying anything. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is such a funny thing to say, but I'm proud of Cuomo, like because he was basically the only person who ever had any progressive on his show on cable news. That includes MSNBC, and now he's actually, and there's a ton I disagree with Chris Cuomo on, right? But here he is actually holding someone in power accountable. Also, pretty much the only person in cable news doing that. I mean, from time to time you'll see little shades of it here and there, but that was as good an exchange as you'll ever see on cable news. And Manchin's stone cold busted.
Totally.
No, I don't believe that McConnell is telling the truth. I think he secretly wants to work with Democrats and help them pass their agenda. Come on, Joe. Nobody believes that, and you don't believe that. Now, look, this is asking too much of Cuomo or anyone on cable news. One last follow-up would have been great, which is, so who are you negotiating with, Senator Manchin? Because it ain't the Republicans. You know you're not going to get any of their votes. Now I can show you a list of your top 10 corporate donors, which is actually exactly what I did on this show when Joe Manchin was on this show. and I could show you exactly how you voted with those donors. And on this show, he said, "Oh, I don't even know who my top donor is."
Come on. Now he's insulting our intelligence. Come on.
No, because in the old days, even my good friends of mine, because the New York Times and NPR said it, they would believe that people like Joe Manchin, well, he's a Democrat. He means well. He's just, there's nothing he can do. There's no donors. Oh, no, corruption. No, New York Times told me there is no corruption. NPR whispered of how they're wonderfully civil and great in Congress, etc. And I don't know what you're talking. Now, it's becoming so obvious, and social media is having a huge impact. And then moments like this, where I think even like hardcore, actual moderate Democratic voters are going, yeah, that guy's lying. I don't know what the truth is, but that guy's definitely lying.
Yeah. Look, this is a swink or swim moment for the Democratic Party. And so the Biden administration has a decision to make right now. And that decision is, do we fight for the very popular proposals that we've put out there and actually get it done to ensure that Democrats increase their popularity among voters? Or do we cave to donors, to the GOP, and accomplish nothing after promising to accomplish big things and then face a bloodbath in 2022? That's the question. That's really the only question that matters at this point.
And look, guys, the bottom line is on this is going to be not decided by us or Chris Cuomo or anyone else, or even Bernie Sanders or anyone else. That would be great if progressives fought against Joe Manchin. You know, they huff and puff, and sometimes they do a tweet. Okay, but they've made no demands in Congress, as far as I can see. Joe Manchin has made 1,000 demands, right? So they've kind of unilaterally surrendered in actual legislation. They'll say, no, that's not true. I got a tiny little thing that was passed for 6 months. Congrats. Anyways, but it's at the end of the day, it's going to be decided by Joe Biden. Do you have the fight in you or don't you? Are you going to let Manchin be president or are you going to be president?
Who's the boss?
Who's the boss? And look, let's be honest about one thing. My guess is, I'd be thrilled if he proved me wrong. The reason Joe Biden doesn't fight Joe Manchin is because he is Joe Manchin. Biden actually agrees with everything Manchin's saying, and he likes to use, Manchin is using the Republicans as an excuse to do what his donors want, and Biden is using Manchin as an excuse to do what his donors want. So look, if, for example, if you're an honest actor and you're a senator like Manchin, you could easily say, hey, here are the things I disagree with the Democratic Party on, and hence I am moderate, etc. So I'm against the gun control bills that they want because the people of West Virginia don't want it. In my case as a progressive, I'd say I'm against the corporate tax rate coming only to 28%. It should go to 35%. But what would I do? Would I end the filibuster so we could actually vote on these bills? Of course. I wouldn't say, hey, I don't think the corporate tax rate is high enough. Hence, I will block all legislation from going forward. No, that is obviously disingenuous. Yeah. The reason you do that is because you don't want anything to pass because you work for the goddamn Chamber of Commerce. That's facts. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.